Welcome to the St. Louis Writers Group. Tonight we have four one-act plays. We will begin with Miss Nancy's Playhouse, a one-act play by Mario Farwell. And I will read stage directions, and I will let each of the characters who will be reading parts to introduce themselves. We have, and if you're not in the play, please mute yourself and just disable your video, but it looks like everybody has done that. All right, one of the characters is Miss Nancy, a female in her mid-40s, a conservative school marmotte who's manipulative and a control freak, played by
Michelle Dillard.
Sergeant Bruce, handsome male in his late 20s, wears a leather cap, leather harness, chaps, and is shirtless. He has the personality of a slick, testosterone-driven used car salesman, played by
Mark Biaggi.
Douglas, the orderly, a young man in a white orderly uniform, played by.
I think that's going to be you, Rob. It's just one line.
Okay, I can do that. The set is a bare stage with a black backdrop. There are two comfortable chairs next to each other, a small table between the chairs, and a large clock on the upstage wall. Scene 1. At rise, lights rise on Miss Nancy and Sergeant Bruce sitting next to each other. Bruce begins a countdown by holding up his hand.
Can we hold on 1 second? I'm sorry. Michelle, your video is not on.
Sorry.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn mine off after I read this direction. Miss Nancy and Sergeant Bruce sitting next to each other. Bruce begins a countdown by holding up his hand and counting off fingers.
All right. 5, 4, 3.
The theme music for the show, Pop Goes the Weasel, plays. They both smile broadly and gaze into an unseen camera.
Happy Jack says it's time for Miss Nancy's Playhouse. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Miss Nancy, and this is my playhouse. Oh, my dear Jack. Jack! 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 Boys and girls, you can't see Jack because he's hiding in some closet or the euphemistic box. How many years have you been popping in and out of that box and you still believe that nobody knows? News flash, we all know you're gay, Jack. Come out of the box, Jack. Put on your Woolworth pearls and stiletto heels. Go out and take the world by storm. Baby, you were born that way. Hello to all of you boys and girls out there in cyberspace, and welcome to Miss Nancy's Playhouse. We have a special guest with us today. Let's all give a warm welcome to Sergeant Bruce.
And applause, Sergeant Bruce poses and waves to the camera.
Hello there, boys and girls, and thank you, Miss Nancy, for inviting me to Miss Nancy's Playhouse.
Now, Sergeant Bruce, there's a question I've been dying to ask you. Are you a real military officer?
I'm an officer in the Obedience and Dominance Pigsty Corps.
Why, that sounds perfectly naughty.
It's not for the faint-hearted, Miss Nancy, but we do turn wimps into real men.
Let me just say.
Well, let me just say, Miss Nancy, that you've always been an inspiration to me.
Why, thank you, Bruce. That means so much to me.
You know, I'm intending to follow in your footsteps with my new webcast program, Sergeant Bruce Rouse. Being bad has never felt so.
He strikes a Marlboro Man pose and flexes his muscles.
Sergeant Bruce will be giving you some helpful hints on making your playroom safe for rough play.
For more detailed instruction on how to master your slave and submit to a dominant personality, go to my website, www.obedientpig.com.
Now that's what you call a shameless plug.
And there's nothing wrong with a plug in the right places.
Those plugs have no place in Miss Nancy's Playhouse. Will you look what time it is? That's right, it's exercise time. When we stretch, we can see the lovely clouds in the sky. Then you can see all the simple creatures like spiders and roaches on the ground. Okay, here we go. Bend and stretch, bend and stretch. Reach for the stars. There goes Uranus. There goes Mars. Who out there knows what happens when we exercise? Huh? Anyone? Don't everyone answer at once. I see Elizabeth in Austin, Texas has her hand up. That's right. Elizabeth, exercise gets our blood flowing throughout our entire body.
I'm already feeling the blood rushing to my, yeah. Let's all bend down and touch our toes, right, Miss Nancy?
Miss Nancy does various bending and stretching exercises.
Bend and stretch, bend and stretch. Now, doesn't that feel better?
Sergeant Bruce wants to get all you boys and girls out there in shape for some rigorous playtime. Hey, check this out, huh?
He demonstrates several suggestive positions. Miss Nancy looks on in horror.
You'll need energy to fully enjoy your playtime activities, and exercising daily will help you keep your stamina up, up, up. You don't want to be like Pokey the Train, who couldn't get up the hill, do we?
There's no need to be like Pokey the Train who couldn't. Get Power Up. My new potent elixir will solve your problem of low stamina, longevity, and gives you that rock-hard power that gets you over the finish line. Power Up was developed by a world-renowned Albanian scientist exhibitionist. It's a blend of 11 herbs and spices that will lift you up, 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 and keep you chugging for the long haul. Whoop, whoop! With Power Up, you can make it to the train station with despair. Get your supply of Power Up by going to my website, www.
Well, wasn't that fun, boys and girls? We're all warmed up and it's time to take it to the next level. I see Chester in Glendale. Chester, California's hopping like a kangaroo.
Miss Nancy walks over to a large globe and gives the globe a vigorous spin and places one finger on the globe to stop it on Australia.
Now, where do kangaroos come from, boys and girls? That's right, they come from Australia. Let's all see if we can hop like a kangaroo.
Miss Nancy begins to hop around the room. Sergeant Bruce gets up and follows her. They both look ridiculous.
Oh my, Elizabeth in Macon, Georgia has just leaped into the air and has done a full split. Make sure you don't hurt yourself doing any of these exercises at home, boys and girls.
Hey, Elizabeth in Macon, Georgia. Being flexible is very, very important to make the most out of your playroom experience. Get my new DVD, Stretch It Like You Mean It. I give you over 30 stretching exercises that'll get you ready for the most extreme positions.
Oh, look what time it is. It's time for a word from our sponsor, Pinocchio Toys, the toys that are guaranteed to grow your wood. We'll be right back.
They both broadly smile into the camera.
What in the hell do you think you're doing?
Miss Nancy takes out a pack of cigarettes from her purse, lights one up, and inhales deeply.
I'm just taking your rating through the roof, that's all.
Let me get something straight with you, you little leather pinhead. Miss Nancy is the queen of the roost on the Lust and Leisure Network. I built this network from the ground up, and I'm not gonna let some S&M upstart upstage me on my own show.
She takes a flask of whiskey from her blouse and takes a big swig.
Do you see what you've made me do? You have driven me to drink. I'm gonna have to report this to my sponsor, and I'll be forced to retread the 12 steps for the 5th time. Stick to the script and don't mess with me. Sergeant Bruce, I will bury you and your little pixie of a career. Okay, we're back in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome back to Miss Nancy's Playhouse, where all of your questions about the state of amorous play will be answered by me, Miss Nancy, and by special guest, Sergeant Bruce, who unfortunately has no www.com for him to make any shameless plugs. He will be following the script for the rest of the show. Sergeant Bruce will be giving you helpful advice on how to be safe when you play rough.
Sergeant Bruce grits its teeth and gives the camera a forced smile.
But first, it's story time on Miss Nancy's Playhouse. We're going to pick up where we left off last time on the adventures of Timmy the Reluctant Alligator. Due to unfortunate circumstances, we're going to have to skip over certain sections of the story. You see, Spot the dog, Timmy's best friend, has broken his ironclad contract with the Lust and Leisure Network and is suing the network for libel and defamation of character. He felt the bathhouse scene went over the line.
Hey, I bet the boys and girls out there would like a change of pace. How about a brand new story about the pig who cried, oink, 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 all the way to the sty where he finally experienced the pleasures of rough play?
Oh, Sergeant Bruce is a bit confused. He thinks he's doing his own show. He doesn't realize that this is my show. And on my show, I decide what is and what isn't done.
Miss Nancy over here seems to be a touch anal retentive. Why don't we let the boys and girls decide, huh? I see Paul of Scottsdale, Arizona. He wants to hear a story of the pig. And there's Rodolfo all the way in Milan, Italy. Buongiorno, Rodolfo. Ooh, and Penelope in Montreal.
We're not reading some stupid story about a nasty pig. It's not going to happen.
Well, there is another story that everyone might want to hear, Miss Nancy.
Nobody wants to hear.
Oh, how about the case of the mysterious disappearance of Alexander, the yodeling squirrel?
A dramatic chord progression rings out, heightening the tension. They both turn to stare at each other. Miss Nancy has sweat beading on her forehead and nervously rubs her hands.
The squirrel was last seen at a late-night rehearsal with you-know-who.
I think we should move on.
The police suspect foul play, but don't have a body or enough evidence to bring anyone to justice yet.
Miss Nancy opens her purse and pulls out a prescription bottle. She takes 2 of the pills and pops them in her mouth.
Boys and girls, I must take some of my very special medication now. Sometimes when the dark clouds chase away the rainbows, you need something to cheer you up and calm you down. You can get your doctor to prescribe some happy pills to bring back your rainbows. The whole world seems a bit brighter when you're seeing rainbows.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs.
What did I tell you about those stupid freaking pigs? Oh my, Sergeant Bruce has just made me say a naughty word. Sometimes you get your mouth washed out with soap for saying naughty words, but I'm just going to take another one of my pills.
She pops another pill into her mouth, pulls out her flask from her blouse, and takes a swig.
Now that's better. My rainbows are returning. Why don't we just skip the storytelling today?
Now, I've heard there's some compromising photos that link you know who to the case of Alexander the yodeling squirrel. They might surface if certain accommodations aren't made.
Dramatic chord rings out. They both turn to stare at each other.
Top billing, for instance. Top billing, for instance, Miss Nancy.
Over my dead body? Said the peacock to the skunk. Lovely story, the peacock and the skunk. We'll get to that one next week. Why don't we open the floor up to your questions? Let me just put on my reading glasses. Our first question is from Nathan in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Nathan wants to know, what's the best color to paint a playroom? That's very interesting.
That's an easy one. You always want to paint your playroom a very dark color, and black, midnight black, or dungeon black is always preferable. Black gets you into the mood to go to the dark side where unsuspecting lovers sometimes meet their demise.
I like red myself, the colors of blood that could flow freely if certain ambitious hosts step over the line. After all, foolish squirrels went off with handsome gauchos to Buenos Aires all the time. Let's move on to the next question. This is one from Curtis in Patterson, New Jersey. Dear Miss Nancy, I have friends over once a week for playtime. We often get into arguments on who gets to use the sling first. Someone suggested we pull straws. Is that a good idea?
Straws should never be drawn in deciding playroom activities. Someone needs to be in control, and the rest need to be obedient. Curtis is obviously a wimp in need of my training course, Wimps to Men 101, for asking such a lame question. You know, let the manliest man of the group decide who uses the sling first.
What if the group is all girls?
Well, like I said, let the manliest of the group decide.
Nancy showing signs of aggravation.
Sergeant Bruce is the clever one, isn't he? He has all the answers. Innuendos and bald-faced lies. Hey, boys and girls, look what time it is. It's cocktail time. Yay!
Nancy pulls a bottle of vodka and dry vermouth from her handbag. She also takes out a cocktail shaker, martini glasses, and a jar of olives. She even has a plastic bag with ice cubes.
Whenever you need to relax and forget about the world, it's cocktail time. Watch and learn. You start with 2 big helpings of vodka, a drop of dry vermouth, shake, and 2 olives, and finally, the magic ingredient.
She adds a couple pills to the drink. She takes a sip of the drink.
Oh, that's much better. Are you having fun yet? Yay!
I think you've had enough.
You don't tell me when I've had enough. This is my show, mine. I'm the queen of the Lust and Leisure Network. I built this station from the ground up, and don't you ever forget it. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, our next question. Cheryl in Anchorage, Alaska wants to know. She wants to know, let me read her card. Dear Miss Nancy, my husband wants to turn our playhouse into a guest room for his mother. Do you think I should acquiesce? You know, I used to have a husband. I haven't always been a bitter spinster.
Why don't you finish answering Cheryl's question about the
Well, I'll tell you what you should do, Cheryl. Hire a private detective and have your husband followed, because he's probably cheating on you with a trailer park trap. He might even have a whole other family across state lines. You might wake up one day and your bank accounts have been cleaned out and you have nothing. Nothing.
Maybe you should give me the cards and let me take over.
You keep your nasty pixie hands away from me. I am Miss Nancy, the queen of the Lust and Leisure Network. Millions around the world love and respect me. Worship the ground I walk on.
She takes another big swig of her drink.
My no-good husband ruined a perfectly good marriage with his philandering and lies. I was a good wife. Darn good. I gave him everything. After it was over, I was depressed, disillusioned, and so lonely. So very lonely. That's why I turned to Alexander the yodeling squirrel. He was so cute with that fluffy tail. I thought that I had found love again. And even he turned out to be a bastard.
I think Miss Nancy's having a minor breakdown. People sometimes need some time to go away for a while to someplace quiet where they can rest and recover from the daily trials and tribulations of life.
Sergeant Bruce motions for Douglas, the orderly, to come on stage.
I'd like you to meet Douglas, the orderly.
Douglas said,
Douglas, the orderly, is going to be taking Miss Nancy to Sunnybrook Farm for an extended visit.
Alexander? Is that you? Alexander, you've come back to me.
Alexander?
I knew you'd return.
This young man is going to be taking you to a place where you can rest and recover.
Alexander, I knew you wouldn't. You couldn't desert me. I've always depended on the kindness of yodeling squirrels.
"Come along, Miss Nancy." Miss Nancy takes a big swig of her drink and takes hold of Douglas's arm.
Maybe I do need a rest. You'll take care of me, won't you? My little fluffy tail. I'll be back better than ever. Stay tuned for Miss Nancy's Playhouse. I shall return.
Douglas slowly leads Miss Nancy off stage. She breaks away and runs back to get her drink.
I'm going to take this with me.
She gives one final wave and a kiss to the camera. Douglas and Miss Nancy exit.
Hey, we're all out of time. Play safe, play rough. Stay tuned for Punch and Judy Behind the Green Door.
Theme music plays. Sergeant Bruce smiles broadly into the camera and flexes his muscles. Lights fade to black. End of play. All right.
Thanks, Michelle. That was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, actors. Very well done, both of you. And, as we begin a discussion, we'll keep it kind of casual tonight, shorter, but just as a reminder of the types of questions that we usually ask at the St. Louis Writers Group, you might want to touch on premise, is the author's premise clear? You might want to talk about the characters. Are they well defined and developed? The dialogue, is it realistic in the context of the play? The dramatic effect, is it too slow or too fast? Are there any staging problems? And is the script marketable? So with those kinds of questions in mind, I open it up. Feel free to take your mute off. Feel free to come back on screen with your camera. And just go ahead and if you have a comment, you can say it. I find it's hard to take turns in this Zoom format. We'll just do our best not to talk over each other. So who has an opening comment for Mario's play?
I was
Surely.
going to say, once we got the premise, I kind of wanted it to go somewhere beyond the premise, and it didn't really, although it did give us the endings reminiscent of Streetcar Named Desire and Harvey. On the other hand, there's a theater in Washington, D.C. called the Woolly Mammoth. They might love this play. They do seasons devoted to weird things. Like one year they did a season devoted to cannibalism. So they might eat this thing up. I don't know.
Figuratively speaking.
Ron.
Shirley, you had a comment.
I don't know if like seeing the person in costume and all would help. I until it got going, I wasn't quite sure how to take Miss Nancy just by hearing it.
In what way, if I might ask?
Well, until the lines kept going and you find out she's on the Sex and Leisure channel or whatever, I thought, is this a kid's show? What's going on? That's where my brain was.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Jen.
That curveball is actually my favorite thing about it, is this very adult, show being presented as it's a playroom, So I enjoy that take on it.
Good. Other comments?
Raunchy and funny.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I thought it would have been good for a sitcom where you have like the hostess melt down on air with 50 million viewers watching across the country.
Yeah, good.
I thought it was raunchy and funny, so.
I remember.
I agree.
I remember this when we did it with Spectrum. It kind of reminds me of an old Groove Tube skit, Coco the Clown.
Yeah. That was Election Central, I think, wasn't it?
I thought, I think in context of, we're very, in a good way, we're very sensitive to political ideas and sexism and racism these days and so on. And this is irreverent enough that it's funny with in all the wrong ways that make it right, I guess, or something. All right. Any other question or any other comments for Mario before we move on? Jen.
I enjoyed the rivalry between Miss Nancy and Sergeant Bruce. I would love to see that maybe even played up more at the end, and maybe that's more of an actor choice thing or a director choice thing. But when Miss Nancy is getting taken away, I would love to see that kind of from Sergeant Bruce to really play up that rivalry for being the reigning monarch of the station.
Right. Okay, Mario, would you like to comment on anything?
Well, this is like pure fun for me to write something like this. It's nothing profound or anything, but I just wanted to have some fun. I used to watch Romper when I was a kid, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of like really go somewhere irreverent with the piece, and also bring in my gay life or culture into it. So that's about it.
All right.
I get you, Mario.
We all know Sergeant Bruce.
Yeah, we do. I'm going to go black while I put some clothes on.